The federal government has renegotiated its deal with the drug company after coming under sustained pressure over the pace of the rollout. Political reporter Jane Norman has more from Parliament House.
Australia has secured 40 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine, but as we've been reporting for some time now, the bulk of those doses aren't expected to arrive in Australia until the final few months of this year. But the government says it has negotiated with Pfizer to now bring forward millions of those doses. So same number of doses, we're just getting millions of them a month really earlier than expected. So for some context, in June we received 1.7 million doses of Pfizer. This month we're on track to receive 2.8 million, and it's next month in August when the government says there'll be a big ramp up now. We're on track to receive 4.5 million doses, and we weren't really expecting to see that level of supply until around the September-October mark. So it's effectively been brought forward by about a month. Now the government has been under immense political and public pressure over the slow pace of the rollout. I mean, we have the biggest city in Australia under lockdown. We've got premiers almost daily publicly venting their frustration with the pace of the rollout. So there has been a lot of pressure on the government to get more supply in Australia. And the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, says at last the rollout is starting to ramp up.
Pfizer's supply to us all the way through, what they've said they'll deliver, they've delivered. And you know, we're still working in a global market where there's a lot of strains, and they confirm those supplies. I've got to tell you, every time Pfizer said they're going to deliver something, they have. Now, clearly we didn't have that with AstraZeneca early on in the rollout, and there was 3 million vaccines that set us right back. But we're making up that time now, and we're hitting those marks we need to hit now. And so we keep that up, Australia. We get this thing done.
Jane, the vaccine rollout will no doubt be one of the things discussed at National Cabinet today. What else is on the agenda?
Yeah, we're protecting some of the most vulnerable Australians, Karina. The National Cabinet will today decide whether to mandate COVID-19 vaccines for workers in the disability care sector. At the moment, only about 36% of staff working in that sector have received a first dose. That's despite the fact that they are in the highest priority group in Phase 1A. So the state and federal leaders will make a decision today as to whether to make it compulsory for those workers to get the vaccine, just as they've done for the aged care sector. And ahead of the meeting, both the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, and the Minister responsible for the NDIS, Linda Reynolds, have made it pretty clear that they believe mandatory vaccines are needed. And apart from that, we're expecting more discussion, Karina, on the idea of home quarantine for fully vaccinated returning travellers. At the moment, South Australia and New South Wales, we understand, are considering the idea of a pilot program to sort of alleviate pressure on the hotel quarantine system and start figuring out other ways of quarantining returning travellers, particularly those who have been fully vaccinated and therefore present less of a risk when they arrive here.
Jane Norman reporting there from Canberra. An Indigenous